Welcome. I am Reverend Montclair, and this is Monday Church with Reverend Montclair. Yesterday, I believe it was International Women's Day, and here we are with another honorary day for those that throughout the rest of the year, every other day, are not given their due credit or honor. And I seek to acknowledge on a daily basis the value of women in our society, in our world, and in the creation of a more stable world view. Because what we have before us is the destabilizing, patriarchal, masculine overabundance of testosterone, creating war and abuse, because what is the opposite of life giving, the female, of caring, the female, but life taking and destruction? And that is where the problem is. It is in the worldview that men are more important than women, that men are more valuable than women, that men are rulers of the world, and they deny the so-called feminine characteristics within themselves, which are emotion, which is care, sensitivity, humanness, all of those characteristics that make us human rather than robotic killing machines. So unfortunately, we have the monsters in charge, the monsters being the pedophiles. It's unconscionable and egregious to be seeing our country supporting pedophiles, protecting pedophiles. And this is not just in our country, this is worldwide. So we have culture, a culture which is skewed towards the so-called masculine, which is abusing children and abusing women and abusing the earth and abusing life itself. So we need to bring balance. We need to reintroduce the feminine, the divine feminine, honoring the feminine in society, in ourselves. And what man alive did not spend 9 months in his mother's belly? How can you denigrate that which gives you life? How can you continue this fallacy, this false narrative about being better than? So the cruelty continues, and the revelations of the cruelty continue. And in that, it is stressful, it is overwhelming to many, it is baffling to many, even those that cannot even imagine these things to be true go into denial. Yet the abuse of children is worldwide. In Afghanistan, it's young boys that are raped by powerful men. In our own country, it is the boys and girls raped by so-called powerful men. When I say powerful, I usually mean the wealthy, the ones that can buy flesh from systems like modeling agencies, like entertainment places like Jeffrey Epstein's island of blissful, irresponsible, disgusting acts. People that are wealthy, people that have no heart. And that doesn't mean that all wealthy people have no heart, but those that claw their way to the top because they have no conscience end up being the ones in charge and seeking the next cheap thrill. So we have a climate in capitalist society that rewards those cruelties, that rewards those without the heart, without the compassion, without the consideration for future generations or for the consequences of their actions. So the system is crumbling. The system is revealing its weaknesses, its cruelties, its debasement. We have a lot on our plate in this world as wars are started to deflect from the culpability of the leaders in this country, to distract the masses from holding accountability to the pedophile protectors. And it's time to breathe, because there's the chaos that's external, and then there's the chaos that's internal. The feelings of inadequacy or hopelessness, or feeling not being able to do anything about it. I think one of the most important things we can do about it is to speak the truth, be compassionate, um, be conscious that our patrilineal society and patriarchal society is not working, that it has leaned the world so far to the stereotypical masculine that it has created so much damage and so much cruelty that it's time for it to stop. It's time for the patriarchy to die. It's time for balance to be introduced into our worldviews. And one of those ways is to look back to where the patriarchy started. I do not have a specific date in mind. However, prior to Christ, over 2,000 years ago, there was more of a tendency in culture, like in Greece and in Rome, to have a pantheon of gods and goddesses. It wasn't just one male god that was believed in or focused on. So when the Romans took over Christianity by killing Christians, throwing them to the lions, they got to rewrite the story. And the story was that there was a male god in the sky, and that it was only the sun that was valued, and that we now had the justification, men had the justification to denigrate all that was not of this egoic, masculine, punishing God. But prior to that, there was, even with Christ, there was a balance of the masculine and feminine, the divine masculine and divine feminine. Christ himself spoke of the divine masculine and feminine, spoke of God not just as Father God, but as Mother God. And that was erased from history. That was intentional, because religion is always used to manipulate the masses to do the state's bidding in war and control and dominance. Deep breath and exhale. And it's happening again. In the United States, we have generals in the military telling our troops that this is divinely ordained, their mission to start the Armageddon, which is the most absurd BS that they could have concocted. And for those that want to believe that this war that was recently begun is justified, that is music to their ears. For those evangelical people in this country that want the end times to come and want to hasten the end times because then they believe they will be with their creator and they will be saved from this hellish on earth existence. And nowhere in the Bible does it speak about humans being the ones to usher in the end times. Nowhere is it sanctioned in the Bible to give human beings the power and control over the fate of humanity or the judgment. It does not come from the humans. It comes from, in the Bible, their divine creator. So here we are with this delusional sect of Christianity, believing that they are going to get one with God the sooner they can create the destruction of the earth. We have a very sad, sick society. And there are people in the military complaining about this narrative, this religious zealousness narrative, speaking about bringing on the end times. So while there is a understanding in Christianity that suicide is wrong, that it is not something that God wants people to do, and this is no different. Creating the end times is just a larger scale suicide. So we are culturally bringing suicide ideation to our military. And it is wrong. It is all wrong. It is all screwed up and twisted up with this patriarchal um, denigration of life. So go out and love life today. Breathe in clean air if you can. Drink clean water if you can. Enjoy the springtime, such as it is, whether you've got snow or flowers. I have made sure I had more flowers around me recently to ease the cruelty, to ease the ugliness that is so apparent in our culture and in our news feeds. And where can you be kind? That is our mission. Where can you be kind? And that doesn't mean permissive, because sometimes kind is speaking hard truths. Sometimes being kind and loving is not letting someone continue in their delusions. And that is hard because it's not people pleasing, it is the opposite of people pleasing, because people are so attached to their delusions. They're so attached to their image of themselves. They're so attached to their coping mechanisms, which are often addictions and denial of their pain. But it's only through going through the pain, by facing that which causes the pain, that we get to overcome it, we get to transmute it, we get to heal from it. And healing is the way forward. So while the news is rife with trauma and trauma inducing information, it has to be revealed to be healed. And while it is clear that the president of this country is a pedophile and that those around him are pedophile protectors, we still need to acknowledge not only that truth, but also the truth that their damage that they have unleashed on our society is part of their own inner damage and their denial of their inner damage and excuse me, distraction from their demons. And I say that word demons because when we do not heal, when we refuse to heal, when we refuse to look the damage that we experienced, often as children, when we refuse to look it in the eye and name it for what it was, we ourselves are at risk of becoming the monsters. And there's a lot of monsters in our world today doing monstrous things. So don't be the monster. Be the one brave enough to heal. Be the one who speaks the truth. Be the one who gives hard love in pointing out the denial in ourselves and in others. Be the one who stands in integrity of life, of caring, of compassion, of forward thinking, of belief in the possibility that all of this chaos might be a preamble to new life, a new paradigm, a new way of being in the world. Meanwhile, those in the countries that are at war or we are at war with are suffering. Those in Ukraine are still suffering. Those in Iran and other countries are still suffering. And the unconscionable actions of bombing oil refineries that create so much pollution and acidification of rainwater, not in a not in a small way, but in a horrific way where acid rains from the sky. So there's lots of consequences for our irresponsible actions as human beings, as heads of state, as people in positions of power that did not heal because they refused to look at their own damage, their own wounds, and instead of doing the hard work of facing that, they've unleashed more damage on the world. So don't be that person. Be the one willing to heal. Be the one who is supportive of those in healing. And take care of yourself. Take care of others. And acknowledge that these days of acknowledgement, whether it be Earth Day, which is coming up, Women's International Day, which was yesterday, or Women's History Month, which we are in right now, or Black History Month, which we just came out of. Acknowledge that these days of acknowledgement are minimal nods to parts of ourselves that have been denied for too long, and bring forth more acknowledgement of Black history, of women's history, of women in general in our culture, of the earth herself. Bring forth more honoring in a daily manner of all of these and recognize your own privilege in at present, if you are living in a place where there is no war, in a place where essentially business as usual is the operation of the day, even though the gas prices have gone up $1 or whatever. There's still normalcy to be had, even though the news is awful. But be more than normal. Be accountable to your word, to your integrity, to the integrity of life itself, and to the balance of life, which is the balance between the give and receive, the balance between the masculine and the feminine, the balance between breathing in and breathing out, the balance between the waves, the tides coming in and the tides going out, that there is a balance in all things. And on the world stage at present, it is all out of balance. But again, bringing truth forward is part of the healing. So, much love to you on this day, and do yourself a favor and learn more about women's history as we are in this month of March 2026. Much love to you all, and again, I source the Dene Beauty Way prayer, and Dene are known to us as the Navajo people, and that is, may you walk in beauty, with beauty before you, with beauty behind you, with beauty above you, with beauty below, with beauty all around you. May you walk. Much love to you all, much courage to you all, to face what needs to be faced, to speak what needs to be spoken, and to take the actions that need to be taken. Peace to you on your journey, on your path, and in your life. Till next time, I'm Reverend Montclair, and this is Monday Church with Reverend Montclair. Thanks for tuning in.